Good morning, my friends, wherever you may be in the world today. Alan Clements here in this new series, The Dharma Life, reflecting on my last 50 years of pursuit. I want to say the journey of awakening, equally the journey of complexity, denial, addiction, horror, depression, and equally beauty, because at the root of this series is the empowerment of purpose and meaning and choice, the empowerment of purpose, meaning, and choice. And cliched as it is, but it's not, making life, turning life into an epic adventure. Taking the dreariness, the anticipation of panic and complexity as much as humanly possible off the table. I mean, I am imagining speaking to both a young woman, my daughter, and an elder to hold me accountable, and to the ancestors of eternity, both in the past and in other dimensions, in the unborn life. So may I invite you to come along on this journey with me. This is part one. Yesterday was the introduction, a spontaneous 11-part, maybe more, sharing on the insights, the lessons, the pitfalls, and the blind spots, if you will, of empowering the Dharma life as one's vocation. Not livelihood, not career, not family, not job, not money, not loot, not crypto, not politics, all of which are valuable, no doubt about it, art and activism, all of it, but the Dharma life. An individual who prioritizes consciousness, the agency of the individual to inhabit consciousness, the Dharma life, Dhamma in Pali Buddhist, the ability over many decades and years, if you're so lucky to live that long, if life is really what your desire is to enter consciousness, not being present alone. That's not even remotely my interest. It's to inhabit the primacy of this invisible, tangible texture known as vijnana in Pali Buddhist Abhidhamma, consciousness. This vast, mysterious invisibility, the problem of knowing phenomena in the field, the universe, the galaxy, the mystery, the earth, the topography of being, consciousness inhabiting physical form, the body. The basis of the Dharma life, to state the obvious, but so easily overlooked based on ideation and the externalization of mind, is to embody as skillfully as humanly possible, right? We want to minimize mistakes and regrets, to inhabit conscious choice as skillfully as possible, to minimize mistakes and shortcomings and that ever-present possibility of blind endeavor that leads eventually, as conscience ignites, to regret and remorse, which is healthy at times, to look upon what we've done or not done through the process of commission or omission. And we have a healthy attitude that goes, that was not right, and we correct our ways, refine our thinking, take it off of toxic emotions that we're not aware of, that inhabit behaviors that through repetitive behavior, it leads to addiction and denigration of self often and other. So welcome aboard on this journey. The title, The Elegance of Displacement. I want to speak about that. And the attitude that everything is workable. That's a big lesson Nothing cannot be inhabited more wisely. It may not take the immediate pain or the complexity out of the situation, but there's something about inhabiting phenomena, existence, events, relationships, with the purpose, the vocation of ethical courage, spiritual courage, mindful intelligence, to learn. Choice making to learn and to satisfy the emotion of adventure. Not just enough to have the thought of adventure, but obviously I'm no astronaut, in terms of outer space alone, although we're all in outer space, inner space and outer space. But to really, okay, I'm here, I was born, I'm alive, whatever the reasons are. We're never going to ultimately get it right, at least that's the way that I feel. Therefore, one of the great lessons for me is to have the ability, the emotional skill to navigate how to not lose one's humanity in the process of livelihood, family, intimacy, sexuality, art, activism, loss, grieving, all the things that are human, not to mention the utter complexities that are truly mind-boggling. Child trafficking, rape, extortion, ethnic cleansing, crimes against the environment, crimes against humanity, crimes against non-humans, factory farming, the evil. No doubt the Dharma life is defined most intimately by raw war, the battle, the mandala of the human heart in context to existence of good and evil. So point one here in this feeling the elegance of displacement and making everything as workable as possible. I don't know about you, but a lot of my life, even more so today in a way, although I do occupy existence with the best that I can offer. But however, there's a lot of time in which I don't feel like I belong. Where I'm at, how I think, how I feel, in human relationships, to be embodied. It's not been an easy task, to state the obvious, to so many of us, not to mention through inference and empathy projected worldwide throughout history and into the future and the present time that we live today, of the complexity of embodying human life on this planet. To imagine the day in the life of woman, a young girl who's been violated sexually, who's tied up beyond her will in chains on masculine toxicity and who knows the collusion of others to undergo that level of torture. My friends in Burma undergoing torture and assassination and all types of incarceration. And the windstorms of tyranny. Just the news cycle of aberrant, toxic, arrogant proclamations of obedience. There's something so not wrong about it alone, but to live in a context, planet Earth, at this daytime in the evolution of existence, where we even have to contend with that sense of displacement, and how to create whatever the meaning is for you, and I'll share my meaning of the word elegance, the ability to be in some form of conscious flow with the jagged edge of events and circumstances and life and time and aging and disease and being abandoned and disposed of and betrayed and lied to and living in a world of fake and fake similes, where we're seduced into looking into mirrors that aren't really our reflection because we've been conditioned by the expectations of others to live in a lie. And here we find ourselves in the distortions, a Frankensteinian existence in a strange kind of way. Maybe you can relate, where you just don't feel you belong. That is so rad. To know that you have the conscience and the mindfulness and the elegance of heart to truly feel the wrongness within the context. That to me has always been one of the guiding lights, not so much happiness or peace or blah, 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 calm and tranquility. Yes, they're beautiful qualities of mind, but they don't come easily through the acquisition of things. You can have all the things that you want in the world, to state the obvious. And many people are air-conditioned who live in the most extraordinarily exquisite places with servants and private jets, and they sweat because they have no composure of human heart. It's so obvious. More, and it's never enough. The addiction to consumerism, the addiction to profit, the addiction to identity. And so recognizing that you feel what you feel, if I were to impart something, the rightness of the wrong. Depression is often a sign of good news. It's an emotional elegance in relationship to the shrapnel of capitalism. I don't know where I read it or saw it, but more recently, everywhere you go, ATM machines and banks, I think we should divest in fiat. We should put out of order signs all over ATM machines. We should fight back, not just withdraw. Robert Kennedy Jr. in his brilliant lecture that I watched the other day, we should make civil disobedience a way of life. Isn't that the Martin Luther King dream? To fight for the good fight by feeling that there is a wrong and empowering the sacred discontentment, the sacred rage, as he spoke about. But often we don't have the voice or the support to really rage out. You'll be ridiculed and marginalized and canceled, and next thing you know, you're buried under your bed as a 17-year-old. Next thing you know, you're wondering why you're cutting your wrists and you're bleeding and you're cutting your hair off and you're tattooed all over everything and more. Not to denigrate the tattoo, but this individual, this boy, this girl just doesn't feel they belong. I don't want to belong to the crowd of influencers to get more and more views and likes, to get me TikToked into the denial of belonging to my soul. That's the real issue here, how to make it workable on the soul level, right? And even as adults, even many meditators are so displaced. They live in cul-de-sacs of collusion. I've seen it, I've been there. Human rights activists, CEOs of environmental organizations, Western Dharma teachers, Eastern Dharma teachers, spiritual teachers, yoga confederations, cults of collusion and complicity. If you're not careful, you can live in the cul-de-sac of these normal behaviors and don't feel your displacement. So in a way, the virtue of being disobedient, empowering the innate rebel in there to not belong and to feel the workability and the rightness and the elegance of displacement. I think that's my message. And you may be wondering how I'm wondering, now what? What do you do? And going right back to a reflection that I learned early on that I keep reiterating to myself. Keep it simple, Alan. What is the basis of the Dhamma life, the Dharma life, the journey of awakening? How simple could it be? The simplest of simple things to remember on how to make the unworkability, it seems, workable. What does the word elegance mean in Dharma? two things. If I've learned anything, it's two basic things. The difference in the beauty of an idea and the actuality of manifesting the meaning of that idea and the vision imprinted in that idea. The meaning, to know how to taste life, how to experience life, not to only project, expect, confirm expectation, or to live in ideation and ideas and thoughts, to live in dreams is beautiful. We all have nightmares and visions, but there's something very special about waking up into the next more radiant dimension of authentic, engaged experience. Experience at the level of heart where one is mindfully choosing the food that they eat. Mindfully choosing the individual whom you choose to allow to touch your body, to touch your mind, to touch your heart. And in that touch, that experience, to discern the critical emotional thinking process of feeling the felt texture. The felt texture. Eating is one thing, how we eat is another, and the direct experience of eating mindfully to feel the felt texture of the food, the tea, the wine, the psilocybin, the hope, the water. How to feel the intimate, direct experience of my choices and to study the characteristics, the manifestation, the textures, the conditions, the proximate causes, the disguises for that state of mind and those successive states of mind based upon the original choice. So simple. What do I mean there? I only wish someone would have helped me early on in my life speak to me in the way that I'm speaking to myself now. How to understand the characteristic on a more intimate level of true love versus greed, attachment, joy, bliss, fulfillment. What does love feel like? What does love mean? And how do you consciously explore the felt texture, meaning, characteristic, energy, frequencies, atmospheres, environments of love, making as an expression of conscious choice? Love isn't just a state of mind, it's a complete landscape of multiple choices over many minutes and weeks and months and years of a lifetime. Taking our time to evolve a new mind from the displaced mind by understanding the felt, experiential, emotional, spiritual, I'm going to define these over time, existential textures of love, of hope, of courage. How I wish someone would have taught me and told me to understand how to inhabit the beauty of conscience as a child, of dignity, of the attributes of identity, a realistic approach and attitudes along the journey of life. Isn't that the Dharma life? Really empowering the journey of being a human with as much, I want to say, as much of your spirit, not Buddhism, not any other form of ism, but your unique expression of the meaning of spirit. And spirit to me is spectrum. Spirit in spectrum. What is spectrum? Newton showed that white light has the entire rainbow in it. Spectrum within states of mind, the spectrum of love, includes fear. It includes unconditional caring. And to be in discernment to that spectrum on a felt texture, meaning characteristic level of consciousness. You know, I was aspired to be an artist. I've evolved that artistry over the years. But the earliest teachers helped me understand color and gradation and shadow and light and textures and how to mixed colors to create nuanced variations of the primaries. Isn't the Dharma life, isn't meditation, isn't spirituality about understanding the felt cognitive texture colors of consciousness and becoming more and more of a human artist with those colors in your choice of mixing them creatively to understand the beauty of being human in context with nature, with animals, with plants, with foods, with love, with body, with love in others, and the future of life, imagination. So I hope you can find some, just on this extemporaneous riff along this early stage of this series, the importance for me of direct experience. There's no satisfaction thinking about singing a song. There's no satisfaction ultimately alone, yes, a little bit, in wanting to dance. There's no ultimate satisfaction in wanting to meditate, although it's a beautiful thing to want to, but it's a very frustrating thing to live in the want without the actualization of knowing how to manifest a life of the Dharma and a life of meditation, a life of yoga, a life of mystical adventure. What are these words? They sound beautiful and poetic and romantic and wonderfully inspiring, but the pragmatism. Many of you know that I lived as a monk. Monk is one thing, but really it's the pragmatism of the applied emotional science of inner beingness, the Dharma artistry, of the study of the states of consciousness. States of consciousness, SOCs, states of mind. The Dharma life here, the ability on an experiential level to understand the colors of consciousness to the extent that we're capable, along our own individual aptitudes, our own individual desires for training and practice. I do believe in the power of repetition. Over and over again, finding more luminous forms of joy in the developmental qualities of thinking and speaking and acting and creating, and just the vocation of generosity as a landscape over a lifetime. You can cultivate, young woman, the quality of giving in all of its attributes to the extent that you're human as a vocation of life more so than your job. The primacy of consciousness over the forms of capitalistic culture. Yes, I do believe in the sacred garden. Yes, I do believe in a new trans world to the one that we're in at the moment. Yes, this world, I want to be very careful about this. This world is dying. And I want to say also, finally, but at the same time, I cry and I weep at the anguish and the pain of listening to capitalism dying. I think that's what we're watching right now in all the various forms. And I don't know what will be rebirthed in that process. I don't know what a perfect world looks like. I do know my humble attempts at engaging consciousness at the terms of its reality, at the sense doors inside and outside, and trying to understand those events called the moment with a sense of wisdom and kindness and patience and determination to peel back from my collusion with phenomena that, as a result of that collusion, hear me out, creates conflict for me, creates distortions in consciousness, creates compromises. It may be a temporary joy that I'm in some form of compliance with a negative state of mind, and all of a sudden I ride that rainbow beam of wanting and greed, and I end up with the object, and all of a sudden it dissolves into the Mara phenomena that it is, and it says, "Hi, I got you. I'm the serpent of false hope. You need me more than you can control you." Cocaine, fentanyl, real estate, money, power, greed, domination, war, genocide, nuclear bombs and viruses and mandates, totalitarianism, Mara, right? Got it. Learning how to decathex from the collusion with evil. Denigrating states of mind on the one hand. My teacher said, keep it simple. Study states of mind. Feel them in their purity. I don't mean live in them. Feel them in their authenticity. Know them. And be discerning enough with your mindful intelligence to have the courage to feel, truly feel, that greed and fear and self-blame that often feels good in a weird way. How many times I've been doing something over and over and over again that's to my detriment, and it feels good. Toxic habit patterning joy. Diminishing results on dignity, conscience, and hope. However, it's workable. How many times I've had my literal body down on the sidewalk in the middle of the early morning in a foreign city, alcoholed out, adrenaline exploded, to wake up and repeat until I saw the ignorant folly of the way. However, no blame, make it workable. That's been my journey. Make it workable. You did this to yourself. Yes, throw up two big center fingers to God. It's a bad design, we know that. However, we were born, we are alive, we're in context. Get with it, called empowerment through the development of discernment, critical thinking, mindful intelligence. And what do I point to there? Study SOMs, states of mind. Be a Dharma artist, not just constantly wanting to paint. Yes, yes, yes. Empower the artist despite the job by studying the states of mind. What denigrates? Isn't that good psychotherapy? Isn't that good psychedelic therapy? Isn't that good meditation? Isn't that good yoga? To really know how you are contracting into yourself, often unknowingly, and you go, nope, not for me today. Nope, 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 don't want that. No, that's enough. Boundary, walking on, and refusing to re-participate in the event called that state of mind as much as humanly possible throughout the lifetime. Are we free of anger? I'm not. Are we free of shame? I'm not. Are we free of worry? Most of the time. Are we free of greed? No. They're nuanced states at the moment. However, the ideal to challenge those, to create more and more of a radiance, that you empower your interior world, young woman, on your terms. Do not let anyone come into your interior space without radical invitation and on your terms of both negotiation, without compromise, yes, a little bit, not much, and always being radically not vigilant, yes, that too, filled with contradictions, to fulfill the human endeavor to say no, 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 no. Mindfulness that says no, 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 no. I don't want to participate in that state of mind. A meditator knows that. I don't want to participate in that state of mind. Knowing how to open your hand from primordial fixation on negative states of consciousness, on the one hand. On the other hand, can never say it enough. The artistry of beauty. And this is really rad for you and me, on the terms of your uniqueness, not styles alone that inhabit the high brands, not mimicking the images of the Kardashians, the Jay-Z's, the Bonos, the White House, whatever your icons are. Yes, have love for art, but let it inspire uniqueness and novelty and the beautification of your own self-identity. Don't be so hasty, Alan, to overcome self-identity, to race into the ideology of the Buddhist, infinitely beautiful concept of anatta, emptiness of self. Be an individual as you evolve into a trans-individual existence, if that be true for you. But the beautification of consciousness, what are those colors when you're dipping your mindful heart, mind, soul into the poetry of that palette of interior colors, and you're choosing the word mixed with the color of red and white, and you pinkify the word, I love you. What is your pinkification of the word love in your sonic, rhythmic atonement with other? Uniqueness and style. Don't mimic a Buddhist. Don't mimic the people who speak well at TED conferences. Mumble and stumble and be as inarticulate as your wisdom will allow. There are people who can't speak and think and move and walk. They're paralyzed at deep levels, but they have an articulation, right? Called their uniqueness. Read the book, Johnny Got His Gun. Written way back, I think it was Dalton Trumbo. Broke my heart, radically opened my mind. I'm not going to tell you the giveaway. Read the synopsis, buy the book, watch the film. Everybody can make something workable, no matter how bad it gets, my dad said. No matter how dark it got in World War II, he said, we found some good in it. Unthinkable concept. And I can't imagine how it applies to the victims of the Holocaust, to the families who grieve them, to the unthinkable horrors of generational trauma, that all of us belong to the cult of this errant dark God, at least the dark side of God. And we're embedded in this great mix of hope and love and light and darkness and evil. And yes, that's the epic existential battle, the raw war that we're all faced with all the time. And yes, there's lovemaking. Yes, there's peace if you're so lucky. But imagine a day in the life of a girl living on the tundra, the desert, the broken landscape of an urban bombed out place in Somalia with no clothes and no food. And her parents are lying next to her dead and bombed with American ordnance sold on the black market through this and that store. Unthinkable that there is one human being, one animal, one tree that must undergo that. There's no translation of karma that makes that satisfying to me. That law is so wrong, although it may be understandable on some deep pre-existential, post-existential level, maybe some Buddha mind or post-Buddha mind, but it's not a universe that I really like. Yes, 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 there's radiance everywhere, but I want out of this context. And I'll do my part, and I'll close here, to make good on the promise of being human on the Dharma life. But my eyes are set on an adventure that does not include pushing away evil all the fucking time. Sorry. I don't like to be in the war zone of having to confront stupidity and ignorance, and my own included. That I made it to this stage of life is a true miracle. True for you? So the beautification, no matter how dark it gets, no matter how difficult it is, give hope through speech and language. At the same time, the hardest thing sometimes in meditation is to give hope to yourself. How do you encourage yourself? How do you learn to talk to yourself? How do you evolve the conversation with yourself to become your own elegant Dharma teacher, your own psychotherapist, your own psilocybin, your own post-yoga yogi, your own wisdom of meditation, trans-monastic, trans-retreat? Give up the vocation of this and that, and how do we become an evangelist for our own evolution, our own conscious awakening? Isn't that making everything as workable as humanly possible? And to extend our sphere of caring gradually over time from self-centeredness, from self-preoccupation, from self-development, to the transformational inclusivity of other, even just one other, maybe two, maybe the neighbor, maybe the friend, maybe even someone whom you've judged, maybe the person across from the checkout line who just works 9 to 5 or 8 to 7. Ask him his name, ask her her name. Talk everywhere, communicate the evidence of hope and goodwill. Make life more and more workable. Behind everyone's facade of health and happiness, be sure, I know it's true for me, there's a heart that aches at times for more and for less. We want it differently. That's human. The elegance of displacement and making life workable, the two foundations, knowing the felt textures, the manifestations, the characteristics of states of mind that if unrecognized, texture on to the purity of consciousness and create self-generated conflict for oneself. They create worry and shame and doubt and greed and fear and anger and judgment and blame and denial and deception. Write down all the attributes of darkness, and then how to bring light into them, and light candles within the anger, light candles within the delusion, light candles within the fear. My brothers and sisters in Burma are lighting candles of hope against all odds. It is an archetypal war in the country of Myanmar right now. Not only in Myanmar, but primarily in Myanmar. We see the forces of epic terrorism, meeting the incredible archetypal forces of Dharma courage and light. And it's a war. These boys and girls are willing to die, and dying they are, and taking the life of evil they are too. And there are lots of nuns and monks sending metta, encourage and providing food, and there are people all over the world. May more of you support through the trusted avenues. Insight Myanmar, seek them out. Give them money to give money and support and goodwill and medicines to the people of Burma right now, fighting the good fight. We went there early on in the 70s and 80s to partake of their preservation of the Dhamma. Not just Dhamma. Many of us who lived in Burma know that many of the teachings that we found happened outside the monastery as well as inside. It was just not only a place to meditate, but also a place to observe and to feel and to relate. We saw generosity in dynamic action, even oppressed people giving me more than I would give them from a place of privilege. Wow, wow, wow. Create wow, yeah? Create wow wherever you go. Yes, it's difficult. It's difficult. I can't imagine a day in the life of Anne Frank. I can't imagine a day in the life of Elie Wiesel in Auschwitz. I can't imagine a day in the life of the 11 million people systematically annihilated, the 20 million people dying of disease and killed in the war. I can't imagine the day in the life of a boy soldier in Somalia. I can't imagine the day in the life of a tortured political prisoner, an 18-year-old woman in insane prison in the city of Yangon in Burma at this very moment, bleeding and being gang raped by these gulag, idiot, evil men saluting to the toxic general, the terrorist leader Ming Online. His name should be ubiquitous, go viral worldwide on the example of what not to ever do, and to understand the psychology that led to that man's errant evil behavior. Not just the only one, Xi Jinping of China, on and on and on. We have examples. We have to turn back the darkness, right? Making everything workable, the elegance of the elegance of displacement, and making everything workable. Pushing away self-generated conflict, studying the machinations of greed, anger, and delusion, and the beautification of consciousness. Learning how to give yourself the gift of flowers, the gift of nutrition, the gift of intimacy, the gift of trust, the gift of hope, the bath, the shower, the aromatherapy, the massage, the mindful presence, the courage to keep pushing on. What do you love about your art? Putting your brush on those colors. What do you want to create today? What's your music? What's your theater? What's your poetry? How do you want to rage at the universe? Use everything in your power to overcome the darkness and to anoint yourself and each of us in the future of life with the light of beauty. So from my heart to yours, thank you for tuning in. I hope you will participate and bring friends in. Ultimately, these podcasts and these live streams are activist oriented, and my attempt at evolving and developing a worldwide Dharma community, world Dharma community, and giving hope to the unborn as well as each other. So from my heart to yours, thank you for tuning in. God willing, see you tomorrow, 9:30 here from Maui in the morning for part 2 of this series, The Dharma Life, 50 years of reflections, lessons, pitfalls, blind spots along this wild, crazy adventure of life. Have a beautiful day. Thank you.